Coming up on Marketplace Middle East, the future of mobility, from electric cars to driverless taxis. But could this be the future of autonomous travel in the region?
We see, Dubai connected to Abu Dhabi, connecting to Riyadh, and being able to go between those places or any place in the Gulf within basically an hour.
And the biggest shift in energy consumption since the Industrial Revolution. Is the motor industry set to turn the oil industry on its head? In the land of oil and gas, many people would be surprised that Middle East cities like Dubai are embracing electric vehicles. And the push to go to electric is coming from the very top of government. They are super sleek. This all-electric Tesla car is now part of Dubai's taxi fleet. 50 of them entered service in September, with 150 more on order. It's part of the city's plan to have 10% of all government vehicles fully electric or hybrid by 2020, and 50% of all taxis hybrid by 2021. Dubai wants to be at the forefront of future mobility. At its annual motor show recently, the big, the glitzy, the fast, and the future were on show. This industry is facing profound upheaval, and this year, the electric car revolution was center stage.
Our strategy is not always to be first. Our strategy is to be fast and best.
This is Ford's Mike Agosta. Between now and 2020, they are investing $4.5 billion on electric,
all new interior and exterior,
with 13 new electrified models in the pipeline, 4 of which are destined for the Middle East market.
There are several reasons we're bringing electrified product to the Middle East. Saudi Arabia implementing fuel economy standards for all of the consumers, and in Dubai we have a push by the government to deliver 10% electrified product by 2020. Along with that, we believe that electrification is a way to enhance our vehicle product lineup.
The Dubai government is also encouraging motorists to embrace electric. Incentives like free use of charging stations until 2019, free parking, vehicle registration, and toll tags are being offered. It's part of the city's aim to have the lowest carbon footprint by 2050. One crucial problem is infrastructure. There are just a few hundred charging stations installed. Markus Dold believes it's a chicken and egg situation, and he's willing to provide a solution.
You just hold it like that. It's near-field technology, and then the charging session starts.
He wants to place 10,000 of these solar-powered enabled charging stations at hotels and malls across Dubai and Abu Dhabi over the next 12 months.
All the car manufacturers all over the world have such an amazing cars in the pipeline, but they need infrastructure. And eCharge.work will bring the infrastructure all over the world with our project of 50,000 charging stations next year. And 10,000 are reserved for Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
It's this kind of infrastructure that General Motors is hoping for. Because of the government's embrace of electric, Chevrolet is launching its Bolt EV in Dubai 3 years ahead of plan at the end of next year. It's currently being tested around the streets of the city.
People look at electric vehicles and think they have to give something up. What we want to do with the Chevrolet Bolt EV is show you don't need to give anything up. You've got long range, so 520 kilometers at any DC. In a great package, it's fast and nimble, so 200 brake horsepower, and it's great fun to drive.
These old traditional car makers are facing intense competition. New car manufacturers are entering the market, and tech giants like Google are also getting in on the act.
We see more change in the next 5 to 10 years than there has been in the last 50. You just have to look at the number of disruptors, number of startup companies in automotive, whether they're building vehicles or whether they're building technology for vehicles. Mobility is absolutely changing.
It's not only about electric vehicles. Here on the highway between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, in less than a decade, we could see large tube-like structures traveling overground between the two major cities. It's called the Hyperloop and aims to transport passengers at 1,200 kilometers per hour. It could cut journey times between Dubai to Abu Dhabi from 1 hour and a half to a mere 12 minutes.
The greater Gulf countries are prime for it for a number of reasons. One, they don't have existing infrastructure already. Two, they're looking to grow and connect their people, their cities together quite a bit more. And then three, the abundance of solar power in this particular area, you can completely unplug this thing from the grid here.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Testing on a prototype has taken place, and it could be a key element of Dubai's plan to have 25% of all passenger journeys as autonomous or driverless by 2030.
We see, Dubai connected to Abu Dhabi, connecting to Riyadh, and being able to go between those places or any place in the Gulf within basically an hour.
Dubai already has driverless metros, and the Tesla taxi fleet is fitted with autonomous technology. The Volocopter, the world's first self-flying taxi, is being tested in the skies around Dubai. Powered by clean electricity, this two-seater can cruise at up to 50 kilometers per hour for up to 30 minutes. And within the next decade, this driverless transport mix could include the Hyperloop.
I think we offer something that's a bit more than just coming in with a product. We offer that we're not going to come in and ship concrete in, ship steel in, or anything like that. We're going to use the local materials, use the local labor force, really add to the ecosystem here.
Coming up, could electric and new vehicle technology finally bring the end to rising demand for crude?
Peak oil demand has become a really hot question within the oil industry, and that it used to be something that was theoretical and far off, and now people realize that it may be somewhere on the horizon.
As electric vehicles gain traction and new technologies improve fuel efficiency, there's a growing consensus in the industry that global demand for oil is set to peak. After decades of growth, oil companies are preparing for the biggest shift in energy consumption since the Industrial Revolution. For producers across the Gulf, it could present a big problem, as sizable portions of their revenues still come from oil and gas.
Peak oil demand has become a really hot question within the oil industry, and that it used to be something that was theoretical and far off, and now people realize that it may be somewhere on the horizon. There are a lot of estimates as to when it's going to come, but I think from a planning point of view, probably the most reasonable view would be sometime in the late 2030s or in the early 2040s.
For gasoline, peak demand definitely is going to come by 2030, and for all of Asia, maybe 2040. But there is no peak demand for jet fuel, there's no peak demand for diesel fuel. The market continues to grow at a much smaller rate, but it will continue to grow indefinitely.
One reason is that there's a growing backlash against gasoline. Paris is set to ban diesel cars from its streets in 2024 and petrol vehicles from 2030, and many other cities are considering similar measures. But will a sizable shift to electric vehicles make significant inroads and drive down demand for oil?
Even in a scenario in which you have 30% of the new cars sold in 2040 are electric cars, world oil demand in 2040 could be about 20% higher than it is today. In a more radical scenario, it might be 10% lower, but you're going to have to produce tens of millions of barrels of new oil to make up for depletion and keep in mind something else, economic growth, and a world population that's 2 billion people more. So demand for energy is going to grow. The big question, the big debate is what's going to be the mix.
Seeing peak oil demand on the horizon, many large producers are overhauling their long-term investment plans and diversifying away from crude.
We have very big investments in renewables, large biofuel in Brazil, a big wind business in the United States. But rather than going out and making a big bet now, we're going very wide, really understand the technology so that when we're ready, we can make a bigger bet.
Many uncertainties remain, including the pace of technological changes that will make renewables and electric vehicles more competitive. But predicting peak oil demand accurately is important for an industry sitting on trillions of dollars of crude reserves.
The world needs all forms of energy, Once peak oil is reached, it's also going to gently decline. It's not going to fall off a cliff either. So as companies, we'll be able to adapt and change and be part of this transition to a low carbon economy, absolutely.
And it's that prediction that probably ensures oil will play a big part of the energy mix for a long time to come, especially in the Gulf, which has the lowest production costs in the world. On average, it costs less than $9 to produce a barrel of oil.
This oil, which is at a lower cost, like the one which is produced here in Abu Dhabi, will be produced, the last drop of oil will come from this region, you know. So let's concentrate our assets on the oil which is the most affordable for the customers. If it's affordable because it has a low cost, then it will be produced. I'm convinced of that.
Peak oil demand has become a major preoccupation for energy economists and has sparked an intense debate and intrigue in the industry. The impact of electric vehicles remains to be seen. But what is clear, getting the timing right on peak oil demand will separate the winners from the losers.